Ever found yourself wondering, like, who actually makes those super strong, lightweight materials? The ones you see in, well, everything, really. Airplanes, even fishing rods, you name it.
Yeah, it's not magic, though it can feel that way sometimes.
No kidding. And that's what we're diving deep into today. Filament winding operators. They're like the hidden masterminds behind all these crucial parts.
Right. And our trusty guide for this deep dive is going to be RoleCatcher.com, a website all about, helping people figure out their careers. They've got this awesome section all about filament winding operators, and we're going to break it down completely. Everything from what the work's actually like to how you can get started yourself.
Perfect. Okay, so got to start with the basics, right? What does a filament winding operator do? I'm picturing someone in a factory surrounded by these massive, like, spools of something.
You're getting there. Imagine this. You've got these filaments often made from stuff like, fiberglass, carbon fiber, that kind of thing. They're pulled from these giant spools, exactly like you pictured, and then coated with a special resin.
Resin. Is that like what you'd use on a surfboard?
You're on the right track. Same basic idea, but here it's industrial strength. The kind that hardens up when it cures, binds those filaments together good and strong. And here's the really cool part. These coated filaments, they get wound around a rotating mold layer after layer until you build up the exact shape you need.
Whoa, so it's like high-tech weaving, but instead of fabric, they're making, what, pipes? Tubes? What kind of shapes are we talking here?
Nailed it. Precision's key here, because you're making these essential, hollow, cylindrical parts. And the variety. Huge. High-pressure pipes for oil and gas, those super light tubes they use in high-end bicycles, even, get this, rocket motor casings for aerospace stuff.
Seriously, I had no clue how many industries rely on these guys. It's way more than just like running a machine. You got to understand the materials, what they're used for.
That's it. And speaking of where it all happens, think your typical manufacturing plant. RoleCatcher's really clear about that environment. Often means standing for a long time, could be dealing with noise, fumes, maybe even some chemicals. Attention to detail, safety precautions, those are non-negotiable here.
Makes total sense, right? One little mistake with those materials, that's not just wasted stuff. It could be dangerous. Talk about pressure.
You got it. And to make it in that environment, you got to understand how your career can grow there. RoleCatcher breaks it down into 4 clear stages, each one with its own, responsibilities and hurdles to clear.
Okay, I'm hooked. Let's dive into those stages. Sounds like there's a real path for like learning and moving up in this field.
It really is. So you're starting out, right, entry-level operator. Think of it almost like, an apprenticeship, learning the ropes. You're assisting the more experienced operators, getting a feel for those massive machines we talked about.
So hands-on, right from the get-go.
Oh, yeah, totally hands-on. You're helping set up the machines, learning about all the different types of filaments and resins, and probably most important, getting a crash course in quality control. I mean, imagine, like, a tiny crack in a mold goes unnoticed. Could mean scrapping a whole batch of, say, high-pressure pipes. We're talking thousands of dollars down the drain.
Yikes, no pressure there. I get why attention to detail is, like, job one from day one.
Exactly. Now you put in the time, you gain that experience, build your confidence, you move up, right, junior operator. Now you're starting to operate the machines more on your own, though probably still with some supervision. You're adjusting settings, figuring out minor issues, maybe even start training those new entry-level operators coming in. Remember those days?
Oh, full circle.
Yeah.
Seems like a steep learning curve, though, going from assisting to kind of being in charge. So what happens when you hit that experienced operator level? What's that like?
That's where you become the go-to person on the floor, You're running multiple machines, no problem. Tough problems come up, you're the one they call. Making sure those production runs go smoothly. It's not just following instructions anymore. You're making the decisions that directly affect the final product.
And I bet you're collaborating more with other teams, too, right? Like I remember RoleCatcher mentioned working with engineers, designers, that kind of thing.
Totally. Think about it. You're the one with the hands-on experience, the feel for the materials, the machines. When they're trying to improve designs, streamline the whole process, your insights are gold.
So you're not just an operator at that point. You're like a vital part of making things better, innovating.
Exactly. Which brings us to the top of the mountain, right? Senior filament winding operator.
Okay, hit me. What does a master filament winding operator look like?
Picture this. You're overseeing the entire operation. You've got your team of operators, you're mentoring the junior staff, making sure everything hits those production targets. But it's bigger than that. Now you're analyzing data, finding those bottlenecks, coming up with creative solutions to, boost efficiency, make that product even better.
So it's strategy now, not just hands-on. You need the technical know-how, but also real leadership.
It's amazing, this field that most people don't even think about. There's this whole clear path to grow.
It just goes to show you, right? These skilled trades, they're more and more important in the world today. And RoleCatcher, they get into that, the skills and qualifications you need to really make it in this line of work.
Let's dig into that a bit. It's clear that, mechanical aptitude, that eye for detail, that's crucial. But what else should someone who's thinking about this, what should they focus on? Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with those mechanical aptitude, that attention to detail, gotta have them. RoleCatcher, they're big on this too. You gotta really understand those materials, the resins, all that. It's one thing to, know the steps, but knowing how those materials act, what they're good for, how they'll react, that's what'll set you apart.
Right. It's like the science behind it all, not just the mechanics. So what about actually getting into the field? Is it one of those high school diploma and you're good? Or
Well, a high school diploma, that gets your foot in the door most places. But RoleCatcher makes a good point. Having some vocational training, maybe technical courses in composite materials specifically, that can give you a serious leg up. Think about it. The more you already know about the materials themselves, the faster you're going to move up that ladder we were talking about.
Makes sense, yeah. Like anything else, the more you put in on the front end. And it sounds like you can even get experience before you're officially applying for jobs, right?
100%. Nothing beats hands-on experience. And RoleCatcher, they suggest internships, maybe even entry-level positions in a related field, could even be volunteering. Anything to get that real-world exposure.
So even if you're starting from scratch, you can show you're serious, start building those skills. What about the networking side? Is that a big deal in this kind of field?
Huge, actually. RoleCatcher really emphasizes that. Making connections with people who are already doing the work, going to industry events, joining online forums, anything like that. Gets your name out there. Plus, you learn straight from the source.
Yeah, you're tapping into this network of mentors, potential employers. That's got to be valuable. And speaking of employers, what about when you actually land that interview? RoleCatcher's got those practice interview questions, right?
Oh, yeah. They're known for that. And they've got a whole section specifically for filament winding operator interviews. All kinds of questions, really digging into your technical knowledge, how you solve problems, how much attention you pay to those little details.
Sounds intense. What kind of questions are we talking here? Give us for instance.
Well, they might ask about, say, your experience with specific kinds of composite materials, or how you'd make sure the quality's top-notch on a filament wound product, maybe how you'd troubleshoot if something goes wrong during the winding process, that kind of thing.
So they want to see you think on your feet, how you'd actually use what you know in the moment.
Exactly. They want someone skilled, sure, but also passionate about it, eager to learn more. And that's where RoleCatcher, they go above and beyond. They've actually got AI-powered feedback on your answers, gives you personalized tips to really nail that interview.
Whoa, that's next level. Like having your own interview coach right in your pocket. Well, we have covered a ton today. Everything from what these filament winding operators actually do every day to how their career can grow. Even got to peek into those interview hot seat questions. So big picture, what are we thinking? What's your takeaway for our listener about this whole career path?
I'll tell you, I think this field, it's got major potential. When you think about it, composite materials, they're in everything these days. Airplanes, wind turbines, you name it. So people who really know how to work with these materials, those filament winding operators, they're in high demand, and it's only going to grow from here. This is a career where if you've got that sharp eye for detail, you like working with your hands, you're all about precision, you can really make a difference.
And that's a great point. It's not like this is some fad that's going to disappear. It sounds like the opposite, ripe for even more innovation, growth, all that, which kind of makes you wonder, what does the future hold for these guys? As the tech gets more advanced, these materials are going to be in everything. What role are they going to play in all that?
Now that is the million-dollar question. Will they be the ones building the wind turbine blades of the future? Or who knows, maybe even components for spacecraft pushing the limits of exploration? Pretty exciting to think about, isn't it?
You said it. Seriously, we learned so much today about this whole field. Most people don't even know it exists. Huge thanks to RoleCatcher.com. They were an awesome resource for our deep dive. And to you, our listener, keep that curiosity going. Maybe being a filament-winded operator, maybe that's your future. Until next time, keep those questions coming. Keep learning. Keep diving deep.